Hello friends, I'm Kayla. Welcome back to my channel for a casual Wednesday video. If you don't know, I post every Wednesday and most Wednesdays and weekends, and I'm always looking for casual, easy content that I can make on a Wednesday and then post it on a Wednesday. And channel bestie Shannon said, there's a subreddit called r/books that feel like this, where people post pictures of a certain vibe and users recommend books that they think feel like that. You could scroll through and make some recommendations or make a post of your own and see what you get recommended. Okay, I will actually do that at the end. I love the idea of giving custom book recommendations. I don't know if I'm very good at it, but I thought if they're giving a specific visual for me to look at, maybe I could come up with something. Fun fact about me, never been on Reddit. I think subconsciously I always categorized it in my mind as like a place that my nerdy video game husband goes to talk about his nerd video game stuff, kind of like Discord, which is why I'd never been on Discord until this year. I also just don't spend that much time on the internet unless it's related to work. But I guess these spaces are not just nerdy video game stuff, it's nerdy bookish stuff, and also just everything and anything. I don't know that I need to log in to have any better of an experience, but I'm here and we're gonna see what I can do. Okay. I'm just trying to like get my bearings here. Also, I'm gonna turn off that scrolly sound. Okay, so I think people just, oh, okay, you can click through some things here. This is not what I'm starting with. I don't know anything about cars. Are there certain, I see some things have been tagged like fantasy horror, and I wonder if I click those specifically, I'm still within the same subreddit. Oh, I am still in the same, okay, good. Hey, I learned how something worked. This video concept is Kayla gives book recommendations to Reddit users, but really it's Kayla understands how Reddit works. I wonder how many book related subreddits there are. Books, book suggestions, bookshelf, book porn, book club. Okay. Would I make a subreddit for my own book club, or is that a weird thing to do? All right, love at the very top that it says not to use AI as your examples, looking for recommendations, because I love it. Okay, so the first one that I see that's horror, I automatically like want to find something for. So we've got a woman and a skull and a moon and a swamp and like a gothic creature. Oh, okay, creature, okay. This feels like a dowry of blood to me. I'm also trying to figure out how to film this video. Like, should I just sit here and talk about a book, or should I like transition every time to my bookshelves? Like, what's more engaging for you? A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson is a reimagining of Dracula's Brides. If you somehow haven't heard of it or haven't read it, it's Constanta uncovering that her husband is darker than she ever thought and what she's going to do with that information. It's a kind of good for her story. It has the vampire essence to it, the gothic vibes. So I think it fits with the aesthetic. Because I don't know Reddit very well, I also don't know what books would be popular. Like maybe there are certain books that get recommended a lot. This has 172 responses, and I wonder if anyone else would have said A Dowry of Blood. Slewfoot, What Moves the Dead, Mexican Gothic. Well, see, now I'm just gonna read all of these and say, yeah, I co-sign all of these recommendations. That's not the point. I think I need to stay out of the comments. Okay, what appeals to me next? Skipping over the cars. This is so cutesy and like, I wish I had something for this, but I don't. Oh, and then I guess some people just post photos of like an already existing show or movie, and they want recommendations. Now, I didn't love Sharp Objects. I like everything else from Gillian Flynn more, but the sister dynamic and certain things about it make me think of Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. This is much darker, but it has two sisters as adults coming back home, uncovering what happened to their younger sister and her disappearance. Ooh, okay. This is a really pretty image. Okay. Okay, I mean, like, I don't want to just sit here and recommend my favorite things, but this is like such a Raven Boys Dream Thieves image. I mean, there's a sword. Now, I don't need to pitch this to anybody at this point. Like, I talk about this way too much. It's kind of like dark academia without the academia. It's paranormal, it's got relationships, it's got psychics, it has a journey to find a king, and there are people who remind me of the people in that aesthetic. Because of this, I would also recommend The Wicker King by Kay Ankrum, which I consider kind of similar to the Raven Boys, but with less magic and more just connection and confusion about the world. They're found family stories, and that's not necessarily what the aesthetic was depicting, but when I read these, that's what I envision. I envision what the aesthetic was. Oh God. I do not want a book that looks like this. I'm gonna scroll past this. Here's what I'm thinking. Maybe I do like 20 of these and I recommend something. And then if I find one that appeals to an aesthetic that I like, I will like build a little TBR here of 5 of these that I wanna read, and maybe I'll read in a vlog, and then I'll post my own and try to get recommendations. Okay, I definitely need to make an account then. Okay, this image is interesting to me. But it says it's tagged as mystery thriller. So someone wants a mystery thriller with these vibes. And then, oh, I can open it full screen. Great to know. Okay. Clock. Okay, a wall of, got it. Yeah, suspects. Keys. Like secret society vibes and time. Now, when I see those images, I think secret societies, I think a school setting, and especially The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I know that not a lot of people love this one. I liked it more than The Silent Patient, so I would say if you didn't like The Silent Patient, pick this one up, see if it's for you. It has to do with a woman who is basically going to this university campus and talking to this group of girls, the Maidens, and their relationship with a professor at the school that she thinks is harmful. And there's some murder mystery things in it. This one has kind of low rating, but I liked it. It's called Black Chalk by Christopher J. Yates. 1 game, 6 students, 5 survivors. This is set kind of in the future after all of these characters have engaged in these like dangerous games on campus. And one of them is the main character who is reflecting on all of it. And maybe someone knows something and is, you know, there's blackmail. There's just some intriguing things that made me think of this when I saw that. Next up, books that feel like Gilmore Girls. I need books that feel like Gilmore Girls, and the only one that I have is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I gave 4 stars last year when it came out, and I've seen a lot of people pick it up this year because it's recommended for all types of fall recommendation videos, and now not everybody is loving it. So it's not an epic romance by any means. It's just for the vibes. It has the small town elements. It has a girl opening a coffee shop, falling for a guy. It's very simple. It's Grumpy Sunshine, which has the Lorelai Luke vibes. I would still recommend it, even though it's gotten mixed reviews this year. But I think when people ask for books like Gilmore Girls, they're looking for something specific, even if they don't know how to explain it. It's like either they're looking for a small town cozy vibe where there's a lot of like events happening, in which case I would actually recommend something different. What a Match by Mimi Grace. This is that classic example of a woman who thinks she knows everything that she wants, is really type A, has everything written down on paper, everything she wants in a man, and then has to challenge those expectations by being put into this unfamiliar circumstance. She has to move in with this guy temporarily, and they end up going on all of these random dates that are very fall-time activities. There's one specifically that sticks out in my mind that was one of the most autumnal scenes I've ever read. Or they are looking for a romance specifically that reminds them of their like ship from Gilmore Girls. So like I personally don't love Lorelai and Luke. I feel like a lot of other characters had better chemistry with Lorelai, but I understand the slow burn of it all. So I don't know if you want a slow burn, like what to recommend. But I also, my one that I'm looking for is I'm always in need of a Logan Rory dynamic. So hopefully if I click the comments, I will find a recommendation for myself. But see, this person is looking for the coziness and the family and the mother-daughter of it all. So I'm gonna, can you like tag? What does this do? I don't wanna click it, I'm scared. Oh, I gave an award. How do I like bookmark it? Okay, I need to create an account. 1 second. Okay, there are only 17 comments on this, but I'm gonna come back to it and see if anybody is giving a recommendation for what I need. Ooh, I like this. Got an eyeball, but like the idea that there's maybe another person or something. Oh, okay. That's terrifying. Okay, that's terrifying. That's terrifying. Mm-hmm. Oh God. Okay, I got it. The very first image gave possession vibes to me. And so I thought of Come Closer by Sarah Gran, which is a short horror. It's not a super scary one. It's more a literary feeling horror. But it's also like kind of fun because this woman, I don't know how to describe it, if that's an appropriate way to describe it. She believes she's being possessed and she regularly is checking in with herself in this little quiz and like ticking off this list of like, am I possessed or not? I believe there's even a scene of her on a bus. There's a lot of like city scenes of her going around kind of losing her mind, not really knowing where she's at. And it definitely felt like that batch of images. Oh, books that feel like that 70s show. Again, this one feels like, do you want a book set in the, like I need more context. Do you want something set in the 70s or do you want something that has these friendship vibes? Or like me, are you like, oh my God, Jackie and Hyde, I want a dynamic like that to read. I was staring at my shelves for a while and I just don't know that I have anything that perfectly fits. This is not set in the 70s. And it's whatever. It's one of my favorite books and I'm gonna recommend it. If you like group dynamics, if you like all of these characters coming together like once a week and they all know each other so well, like that's the energy that this has and what it shares with That 70s Show. This is about a girl named Billy, and it's also queer, which That 70s Show isn't. Billy is finding that she has a crush on both her boy best friend and her girl best friend like at the same time, and she has to navigate that entire thing. This is also much more religious. Her father's a pastor. They're getting together like a church youth group, but they're doing things they're not supposed to do in that environment. And I don't know, it just has the vibes of the characters, I think, a little bit. Just read it. I've been recommending it for a decade. Books that feel like Sleepy Hollow seems like it should be an easy one at this time of year. Like these are great fall vibes. If you connect with this and you see this and you want something that feels kind of similar, I have two things that came to mind immediately that are like the small, intimate, isolated, insular town of Control. And then there's like this thing that is pulling the character towards something outside of itself. Slewfoot by Brom and The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson I recommend in tandem a lot, and I probably have in similar recommendation videos. This feels more like a challenge at this point. Can I think of a book that fits this aesthetic rather than recommendations? Because you've heard me mention all of these before, but Slewfoot is a girl who has a lot of people trying to control her. She has this one opportunity to make a life for herself, and she's going to get the help from a local demon to do so. The Year of the Witching is again a very controlling society, and we have a girl who's not allowed to go into the dark woods surrounding the area, but of course she's going to, and she's going to find out a lot of things about the society and her family, and it's a great time. Oh, this one's interesting. There's just one picture and it's one lady, magical realism. I'm gonna save that for myself because I do think I need something like that. Okay, this one feels kind of generic. It's just like a neighborhood and they put it in mystery thriller, but one immediately did come to mind, but let me click through and see if it's still. Oh, okay. Sports, suburbs, playing in the, okay, but like spooky, scary playground. Okay, so like this feels like Missing Children kind of vibes. These are the suburban books that come to mind for me, just looking through the images. What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall I read recently, and we're following two best friends who for decades have kept the secret of what really happened the night that their third friend died. And so it's reflecting on their childhood, but it's also like their lives now, just trying to be normal women living in a normal neighborhood. I also put Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. This one is written from a lot of perspectives. So is the next one, Such a Quiet Place by Megan Miranda. These both have to do with like a whole neighborhood of people and various people missing. This one, there's like 3 different people who've gone missing, a child, her mother. 11 years later, one of them's returning. And then Such a Quiet Place has a lot of families we're following. 2 people died back in the day, and now there's somebody who was a child at the time is back as an adult. And was she actually the one who did it? Oh my God. Books that feel like Midnight Mass is everything that I need. I will be saving that. I'm always looking for something like Midnight Mass. I would say there's a Stephen King that I actually like never finished that feels really similar. Okay, we're halfway through. I've found 10 that I can find something to recommend for. Books that feel like this but cozy vibes is interesting. So it's like scary, but not too scary. There's only 3 comments on this one, so this I'm going to take because I want to think of something. It's not like fun cozy. It's just kind of like maybe a little odd. I guess one of the first things that came to mind for me is Bloom, because it's kind of a chill horror. It's a slow building one. It's more of a suspense, but it also has the nature vibes. So I think it fits. We have a woman who goes to the farmer's market, sells her flowers, her cupcakes, her candles, her honey, and we have another woman who arrives and falls for her. And then, as the synopsis says, the book takes an unsavory turn. And I just feel like this is the right vibes. I mean, this one has a cat and a sign that says end. So it makes me think of the house at the end. The house, what's it called? The house on the end of Needless Street. But if I click through, what's it gonna do? Because it says comedy, and that's definitely not a comedy. This person wants a cat book. I've got nothing. A book that feels like this tastes is crazy. Literary fiction that tastes like strawberry ice cream. I hate strawberry ice cream. So a book I hate. Okay, wait, I don't know if somebody posted this as a joke because they're laughing, but it's like, you know, just the Windows background. With 100 comments, I feel like maybe everybody could kind of interpret this differently. To me, this is a very, it doesn't feel like it's supposed to. It doesn't just feel like a perfect sunshine, like happy time. It feels a little dystopian. It feels a little like fake, and that the shadows are moving in, and it's a little, I don't know, uncomfortable. The first thing that immediately came to mind is Comfort Me with Apples. It's a strangely written story of a woman whose life is just perfect. She lives in this suburban neighborhood, her perfect house, and her perfect life, and then realizes slowly that things are not as they appear. I think this is kind of a perfect book, and I loved it, and I recommend it all the time, but I recommend it maybe too much that I wanted to come up with something else. And what came to mind is several people are typing like Kevin Kosulki. First of all, it's set inside a computer. How perfect. Second, or B, what did I just say? It's that exact vibe of thinking that everything is perfect and peaceful. You're just going to work, you're just doing your job, and then one day something creeps up on you in a science fiction dystopian kind of way, and suddenly you are inside the Slack messenger at work. It's all about workplace culture. It's funny, it's stupid, it's all told in little text messages as our character is stuck inside of it, and people are going to like his desk and his house and trying to like find him, and he's like, no, like I'm literally inside Slack, and he's communicating with the Slack help bot, but the Slack help bot has never needed to solve an issue like this, so it's just pretty funny. These have all, I guess, only been from the last like 5 days, so this subreddit is really the place to get these. I feel like I should instead look for some with that have like been really popular or have no comments, but I'm just looking at the most recent. I don't know if that's the best way to do this. I've also scrolled past like 50 that you haven't even seen because I can't think of anything. Okay, books that feel like this seems really easy. It's just one picture of a place called The Strange and Unusual, Oddities Parlor. 2 things immediately spring to mind. Needful Things by Stephen King is an easy pull. It is literally a shop of oddities. You go in and whatever you want most in the world is there, but there is a price. It's a long book. I haven't read it since I was a teenager, but I know that it's worth it. The other one that comes to mind is, I think my mom still has my copy of The Hollow Places or Hollow Ones by T. Kingfisher, which is a woman who goes to help her uncle like clean out his old shop, and while she's there she finds a portal to somewhere weird, and it's definitely scary, but it's also cozy at the same time. Books like Halloween Town, interesting prompt. I have never watched Halloween Town until like I want to say 2 years ago, and I don't think I actually finished it, so I'm probably not the one to ask. Not that you asked, but I do have a couple of things that sprung to mind. 3 things came to mind for this, each one a little less relevant than the last. So I think Cackle, just generally Rachel Harrison has some more fun horror. It's still scary, but it's a little more lighthearted. And Cackle, I didn't love, but I know other people do. It's this woman and she goes to this like weird town where there's a weird lady who everybody just like listens to and trusts, and she's like she has these powers that people are scared of, and it's their relationship dynamic. The Ex-Hex came to mind as well because I haven't really read a lot of paranormal romance, but I feel like this could be a good one. You have a girl and there's a curse on her ex and she doesn't know that, realize it's real until he comes back to town, and then they have to solve all of these things together. And then lastly, We Ride Upon Sticks by Quamberry came to mind because I think of fall when I think of this, and there is this magical element. All of these girls, it's set in the 80s, all of these girls are part of a field hockey team and they all have their own struggles going on, but they're like a coven and they've discovered some type of magic that they have. And it's very weirdly written, but you just go through their everyday lives, and I think it gives the right vibes. I like this one, and I automatically want to recommend Bunny, but I recommend Bunny way too often, and this says fiction, not horror. So this is not my moment to insert my opinion about Bunny. Okay, books that explore a pair like this. Fiction. This feels like a fairy book, but it also just like, okay, fire and ice, cutesy and not. Okay, maybe I'm not the right person. Like maybe you want fantasy? A book that explores a pair like that, we could talk about so many different genres. Now, depending what genre you're looking for, this might not be perfect for you, but the most opposite pair I can possibly think of is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal Al-Mohtar, because it's like literally red and blue. Those are the characters. One belongs to an agency, one belongs to a garden, which you'll come to understand kind of as you read the book. And they have their own goals, but they're essentially supposed to like take each other out, but also they're sharing these letters, and it's just an epic love story. Books that feel like this, I just see the word naturalist and I immediately think of Veronica Speedwell. I no longer am thinking of Veronica Speedwell. Okay, like a lot of animals and stuff that Veronica Speedwell is not. But if you're thinking historians, naturalists, check that one out. Books that feel like this. Dark academia. Okay. Okay. This one, I feel like the first thing that comes to mind is Ace of Spades. This book is by Frida Abike Amide, and it has a school setting. It has these two characters who are fighting to become valedictorian, and then there's somebody sending out texts that calls themselves Ace or the Aces. It's like a group, anonymous texts revealing secrets about these people, and it becomes this like dark game, and there's a lot of like obviously academia in here, so books and reading, bookstores, libraries, and it's got mystery vibes, which I feel like was there. So that's my recommendation. This one's interesting. It's like a strange looking house in the middle of nowhere, but they put horror. I can think of some fantasy horror that's about a house. Maybe it can just be about like the feeling. Like I know these don't have to be literal, like it's about the feeling of it. The feeling of being isolated, the feeling that the house is a little weird. I've got that. I'm not sure where my copy of Foe is by Ian Reid, but that's one that popped into mind immediately. It's this husband and wife, and one day they get a knock on the door. They're like kind of in the middle of nowhere. That's the vibe. They're very isolated, and the people who come say that the husband has this opportunity and he's going to be gone for a long time, but they'll take care of her while he's gone. It's just a very strange, if you read Ian Reid before, he's just doing some like weird, unique things in the genre, and I would definitely recommend it. The other one that came to mind is a recent read of mine, We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleaver. This is about a couple, and one day this family comes to the door and they are like, one of them used to live here. We want to show the family around. Very uncomfortable, pushes themselves in. These women don't really know how to deal with them, and it feels like they're in the middle of nowhere. Even if they leave the property, it takes so long, or it's so challenging to find help to get away from it. It's confusing. You're in this state, well, the characters are, but you're also in this state of just like confusion, and it feels like that picture looks. Oh, this one's interesting. They said something soft and dark. And it's two people. I feel like you could interpret this as being romantic. Like these people are being pulled apart. But to me, they also look so similar that the first thing that came to mind, maybe it's just me finding, oh my God, every recommendation video of mine is just talking about all of my favorite books. Let me click through really quick though. Okay, Crows, The Queen of the Glaciers. Okay, yeah. I'm obviously going to take any and every opportunity to recommend Middle Game, and Middle Game just pops up in my mind a lot. Maybe when I see an aesthetic that I like, I'm like, that feels like Middle Game. It's like these twins are being pulled apart their entire lives. They can't stop coming together, but the forces beyond that are trying to ascend to godhood, the people who have created them in like a laboratory as twins for this bigger goal of the universe. It feels like that photo of them like being pulled apart, but not being able to stop their connection, like literal mind connection. The other thing that came to mind is Mara Dyer. Like the desperation of two people being pulled apart like that makes me think of that. I don't know if I would recommend Mara Dyer in this day and age. In fact, I'm gonna reread it next year, which I'm really worried about. But it's this paranormal teen romance. I can't even remember a lot about it, but there's a girl who is having some mental health issues, and she meets this boy, and like nobody wants her. It's like forbidden for some reason. I don't remember that much about it, but that's the vibes. That's the thing that came to mind. Okay, and we've got time for one more. Oh, horror, comedy, romance recommendations. I actually think I need this for myself. I don't think I love cozy horror, but some like funny horror can work for me. It's very rare, but I do want some romance in my horror. I feel like that could be something fun to read. There are 13 comments in this one, so I'll come back to it. I just know myself and I don't have anything really of quality, so I'll let the Reddit users who have commented tell you in a second. Oh, and seeing this, I feel like I automatically know what's going to be recommended in the comments, and I would be happy to read because I don't have it. I don't have anything for this. Just gnomes and and dragons. Yeah, I don't know about that one. The only gnome book I can think of, I can't even remember the name of, but it's Librabre. It's this one. I liked it a lot, but I don't know if I would recommend it. Also, no dragons. Oh, and I like this one. Okay, feels like falling. This feels like the feeling of becoming free, but also like self-destruction in a way to me. Maybe because there was like groups of men in that imagery, it made me think of The Dove in the Belly, which is a queer like relationship story, but I have some like lighter ones up here that come to mind. This one has that like more intense vibe, I think. We start at a university and these two characters meet each other. Their dynamic is like a push and pull, and then eventually one of them goes to stay with the other's family. It's like a broader story about like love and openness and vulnerability and change, and the visuals just, I don't know, it reminded me of this. Okay, so apparently what I was on wasn't the newest, it was the hot. It was hot and new, I guess. But if I put top, then I think it'll show me, okay, ones that have had them. Oh, are these what people call upvotes, or is that a different website? Like people want the recommendation, so they push it to the top. Is that what's happening? Maybe I can find one more that a lot of people have looked for that have a lot of comments that I also need the vibes for. Okay, well, most of these I've already seen. Oh, top today. Oh, okay, I got it. Top this year. Oh my. 788 recommendations for this. Maybe there's something I'm missing out on. Sure. I've talked about the girls in red dresses run away from castles, so this is definitely something kind of easy to find in literature. What? Any book that gives off these vibes, hot dog in a pot. Is this a euphemism? Okay, so this is more fun to scroll through because they're the things that have been engaged with the most. But honestly, I would have a harder time finding recommendations for this than what I already just did. Okay, now let me find my saved stuff. Wait, it says I joined in 2021. I don't remember doing that. Okay, anyway, let's start with the Gilmore Girls. Someone please mention Rory and Logan. Like, I always love A Secret Society, so specifically when I think of Rory and Logan, I think of him introducing her to this like underground thing, and like also there's her own research involved. And Rory as a character, questionable. But I mean, so many romance books leave us with a character who doesn't have a lot of personality or an enjoyable personality, and it's about the love interest. And I just love Logan's like support. I don't necessarily love following like rich characters, but there's something about being introduced to like a different world, and also just their banter, like top tier banter with all of the characters, right? Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, the Dream Harbor series, I mentioned that. We Ride Upon Sticks, I've mentioned that. A novel love story by Ashley Poston. Definitely has a setting that feels like Stars Hollow. That is interesting to know. I wouldn't have thought that. Love Light Farms, I've read that, and I do agree. The Ex-Hex, mentioned that. Storied Life of A.J. Fickery has been mentioned a couple times. Okay, officially on my TBR is a novel love story. When am I completing this TBR? No idea. Now this one with the lady in the boat. This one I feel a little less committed to because I did save more than 5. So if there's nothing here, it'll be okay. Anne of Green Gables. Half Sick of Shadows. There's a book called Lady Macbeth by Ava Reed that seems to give off these vibes. I feel like I want to read that, but I don't like Ava Reed's books. Okay, let's figure out what people are saying about Midnight Mass. Salem's Lot by Stephen King, Revival by Stephen King was the one I was thinking of. Now we're just going goo-goo over Mike Flanagan's work, which I totally respect. The Lost Village. Camilla Stein is not for me. It's not vampires, but Devil's Creek has a small town being enveloped by ultimate evil. Someone mentioned Slewfoot. Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. Another author that I don't really connect with a lot, but if I'm looking for those vibes. They Thirst by Robert McMammon. If you like the whole deep priest in a small religious town thing, Baron the Nightingale. Small Angels by Laura Owens, I DNF'd. Loot by Jennifer Thorne. Interesting. Okay, and that's that for that. Now let's see this. I don't know if this is really what I should be reading, but I want to like stuff like this. I feel like The Love Witch. Never heard of that. I Was a Teenage Slasher. Oh, I can see that, but it's not romantic. My Best Friend's Exorcism. Yeah, I agree, but I feel like it's about like a couple, kind of. Half Moon Hollow. We've got a lot to skim through with these. There we have it, The Baron the Nightingale again, because I felt like that's something that was going to be recommended just based on the overall vibes. I think I'm going to add The Baron the Nightingale to my TBR for this imaginary vlog that I'm filming. And finally, let's find out what creature woman romance we're about to be recommended. What's the top comment? I don't have an answer, but I did open this thread very quickly. The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. Okay. Oh, romance books have a whole thread of books just like this. Okay. Apparently there's a whole bunch of bookish places that I could be. Let me know where else you want me to explore in Reddit. This looks like Incubus, one of my recent obsessions. Her Demon Lover, A Cursed Kiss, Good Intentions, Shadows Claim. Okay, there's too much here for me to even sift through. Also, do I want to read something like this? The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Interesting pull. So if you have any recommendations for something that you would tell these people to read, I mean, go to the subreddit, add your comment, or you can leave recommendations for everyone in the comments. Now I'm gonna put together my own. What vibe do I desperately need recommendations for? Here's my aesthetic board. I want Secret Society. I want magic in a secret society, but heavy on the romance. I want it to be about a girl discovering her magic. I want it like Bonnie Bennett, but her romance. I want it like The Craft, but with romance. I want Rory and Logan, but with magic. I want houses burning down. I want intense parties, but I also want intimacy and relationships. And I want a group dynamic. I want not just like a coven of girls or a bunch of like boys at a prep school or whatever. I want it mixed. I want there to be like a real group dynamic, because that's why I love Dress Codes for Small Towns and the Raven Cycle, and why, I don't know, I feel like this is leaning towards the vibes of Ninth House. So I want Ninth House, but a version that I actually liked. I want Evocation, but in a way that I like. I feel like maybe the Magicians would get recommended, which I don't really know that much about. First one you see has to be Secret Society, because that's the most important thing. And then romance is the next most important thing. And then it's like magic. It's burning houses down. It's getting together groups. Magic, magic. This is my first Reddit post ever. I hope I did it right. Post. I'm scared. Now I'll have to come back to you and tell you the results of this another day. Maybe when I do the vlog with all the things that I've written down here that I need to look into. Any of your thoughts down below for a recommendation for this specifically? Actually, maybe leave it here so I get some engagement, but also go on Reddit and leave me a comment on there. So then it can actually be a Reddit recommendation, you know what I mean? That's it for me today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye.